Thank goodness for Joe. No, not that Joe. The other Joe. As in Joe Manchin, the only adult, it seems, these days in the room. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I'm Trish. It's so good to have you here. Just a quick reminder that portions of today's program are brought to you by Immunity Armor Gold, the most advanced immunity boosting formula you can get in one product. Go to immunityarmorgold.com and use promo code TRISH10 to get 10% off. That's immunityarmorgold.com, promo code TRISH10. But really and truly, thank goodness that somebody is willing to stand up to the mob of leftists that are insisting that he vote for something that basically nobody really understands or comprehends what's actually in it to begin with. I mean, other than just a whole lot of spending that we can't afford in these times. I mean, if you haven't seen, the latest inflation numbers show we've got the highest inflation in 30 years. Gas prices up $1.25 in the last year alone. We've got food prices higher. And it's not like wages are growing correspondingly as high as well. They're up roughly 1% while you're looking at consumer prices up nearly 6%. So go figure. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, people don't have quite enough money to keep up with all the inflation that's happening. But if they were to go and print all this money, you know what you're going to see? Even more, if you can imagine, even more inflation. So it's really important that we're thoughtful about where we're spending, how we're spending. Joe Manchin came out and he urged everyone on Monday to vote for the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Look, you can get your head around that, right? Bridges and roads, things that we really need, those kind of improvements make sense. But when you start talking about childcare and you start talking about paid time off when you have a child, by the way, they had to axe that one. Or when you start talking about other programs like elderly care, I mean, you start getting into a social stratosphere that, by the way, is great. And you know what? I wish we could do all of it. I wish we had the money, but we just don't. And we have to think strategically about our future right now. And so it's important that politicians lead. It's important that politicians stand up for what they believe in. And when they say, hey, we don't know exactly what's in this, they need to know before they just okay it. Otherwise, you're just giving out blank checks and you're going to have more problems like we already have. I mean, think about the challenges with the workforce right now. American Airlines is proof of this. So over the weekend, last weekend, they had to cancel 1,500 flights, and they canceled more on Monday. And it's going to be a really challenging hole now to dig its way out of for that airline. This comes on the heels of Southwest Airlines having a similar situation most recently. Part of the problem here is our economy is getting stuck because no one wants to work. You know, I was just out in Las Vegas to speak at the Stansberry Alliance Conference. American Consequences is a magazine that I'm the publisher of, AmericanConsequences.com. And I went out to speak to everybody there. I was amazed. I was just amazed by the vibrancy, encouraged, by the way, by the vibrancy of that economy. Everything was full. The restaurants were full. The hotel was full. The streets were full. But interestingly, what I kept hearing from people over and over and over again that were working there is that we don't have enough workers. We don't have enough workers to meet all this capacity. So in some cases, they weren't serving as many people. They didn't have as many hours open, for example, in some restaurants, or they couldn't seat as many tables as they wanted to because they just can't handle it, right? You can't handle the inventory. You heard me tell you about New Hampshire, where I was recently, just going into a Dunkin' Donuts for a morning coffee, and they couldn't handle the influx of people coming in. It was almost as though the business was half shut down. I mean, this is what we're seeing everywhere. All over town, anywhere you go, what you see are help wanted signs. And I know the answer from the Biden administration is we just need to give more in terms of wages, that's somehow the answer to it all. But it's not, because the money has to come from somewhere. I keep going back to that. The money has to come from somewhere, whether you're talking about stimulus, whether you're talking about wages that you pay to your flight attendants and to your pilots, whether it's wages that you pay at a restaurant or a hotel. The money has to come from somewhere. And it's either going to come out of shareholders' pockets. And I know there's a contingency of people who say, okay, that's fine with that. But, you know, that does actually hurt the shareholders that own the stock, or it comes out of, in terms of profitability, it comes out of higher prices, right? Consumers are going to have to pay more for all of these goods, which we've already started to see evidence of. And even consumers have been pretty tolerant of it. Consumers at McDonald's, for example, or Coca-Cola, we've heard from these companies saying that they've upped prices and it's gone smoothly thus far. But at some point, it starts to hurt the middle class. It hurts the middle class because they're the ones penalized most by these higher prices. Anyway, we've got a lot of this going on. I want to get to Elon Musk's pretty epic tweet here where he took on the UN. He took on the World Food Bank. He took on CNN, all kind of at once. So, he's pretty wealthy, right? Because of Tesla, and Tesla just got a huge purchase and his stock price went way up. And there's been a lot of controversy around that, including with the government wanting to tax unrealized gains on those increases in stock prices. Looks like that's not going to happen, along with a whole lot of things that may not happen, in part courtesy of Joe Manchin. But anyway, Elon Musk sent out a tweet in response to a CNN article that said, if he really wanted to, do something with his money, he's got that $6 billion that he just made in a trade, well, in his stock. He hasn't traded it yet. Then he should do something for world hunger. And they quoted the UN, which said that could actually wipe out world hunger. And he tweeted back, great. You know what? I will sell the stock just as soon as you give me, on Twitter, by the way, an executed plan showing me exactly how you would do that. I mean, Elon Musk echoing, I think, what we all feel here, which is that big government and lots of money thrown at big government tends to be pretty wasteful. You need that individual responsibility, that follow through, right? Whether it comes to running a car company like Tesla, solving world hunger like the UN wants to do, or running a country like the United States of America. And the answer is you can't just keep handing out checks and you can't just keep printing money. There needs to be some accountability, and that's what's been missing in this administration, frankly. And those that are on the most extreme end of the Democrat Party that somehow think you can just hand out checks and you can hand out money and that's going to solve everything. It won't. It won't. Just like money printing doesn't solve everything. It only leads to inflation. So it's sort of the law of unintended consequences, which I love to talk about. I would encourage you to go to my website. If you haven't been there already, trishintel.com. Subscribe to my newsletter. I'm here every day on the podcast. You'll get it delivered to your email box, or go to Apple iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you download and subscribe to the podcast, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone.